Hey y'all, it's Nana. Let's go see if we can find PawPaw's, see what he's piddling with, and see if he'll do a garden walk with us. Check out the lady cream peas and a couple other things. Come on, let's go. Welcome to PawPaw's Piddlin Patch, where we grow it, can it, fix it, and share a little red dirt wisdom along the way.
So these are the lady cream peas. Wasn't real anxious to try a different kind of pea because usually we do purple hulls or zipper peas or whatever. But we did these things last year. She bought some seed, I think, from Hoss, and we did about 4 little rows up here. And to start with, when they grow, they do like iron and clay peas, if you've ever grown them, just to cover the ground, not really much anything to pick. They will spread and fill in. We're probably in the second week of June, and we had to replant some of these. That's why some of them small, but you can see how much they've filled in. This is one of the few things that come up without any rain when we had the extreme drought conditions. So I replanted right before it rained, and the rest of them started coming up. But they put on little bitty peas, and if you're shelling by hand, it's going to be a lot slower to shell them. You know, they taste like field peas do. They taste good, and I see them selling for upper 20s, $30 for a little old bag in the store. So I told her they're your peas. I'm dealing with mine, and you pick them. And I ended up shelling them with a little sheller we got. But after all my other peas was picked and the vines dying back, these things kept on growing, kept on growing. Didn't have to worry about weeds where they were. This year I've just got a couple of longer rows, and then I put a couple of short rows on the other end. But it'll be plenty of peas and a lot of area that I don't have to worry so much about weeds. So we'll walk on down this row of them and get down to the other end. So one thing I was about to give up on in this clay around here was carrots, and I decided to give them one more try. They never did do anything in the fall when I tried to plant them and overwinter here like a lot of people do. One thing I tried was I had an old curtain that was in the house when we bought it. It was double, so you could open it up and cut it into strips, and put those carrot seed out here probably March, and threw some of those strips on top of it, so it'd stay damp. Let it rain on it. It's white color, so it was getting some light through, I'm sure. But anyway, I think these are Corota carrots, and a lot of people, carrots in the clay dirt don't seem to have too much success. But once we got them up and let them grow last year, I mean, we had carrots about that long,
Yeah,
and some bigger,
we
and
did.
they're not extra thick, but it's one more thing that seems to do okay, trying to follow that same procedure. I pulled all those weeds out of that squash yesterday since it wasn't squash picking day. And
Yeah, it looks really
a
good.
lot of people don't like frozen squash, but we took it and blanched it about 3 minutes and put it in bags, cut it up. It's a fast food, easy to throw an onion in there with it and some bacon grease and put some butter on the end. Cook it in a skillet till it starts to turn brown. And we're going to try to do these peanuts before it gets too terrible. They're not, I like them to be a little higher, but since, like most everything, I had to plant some early and some later. Since the majority have some blooms down through there, I'm afraid that if we don't get some dirt up around them and get the gypsum on top of them, that it won't do what it's supposed to do.
Is that what we're doing today?
Mm-hmm.
Are you using the farm all to do that?
Mm-hmm. And this is a lot of the replanted, those same lady peas. They'll fill this in. I got to dig up all that crabgrass. That's one one reason we're out here looking this morning, is because let it come one little rain and that crabgrass is going to take off. So we might as well enjoy seeing it while it's clean, because you can see where we pulled up onions down through there, how it looks now. And I try to keep this clean, not as much for appearance, but you can see the seed already popping up on top of them things. You know, if you run over it with a weed eater or whatever, you're just starting another batch. And so I'm trying to, that's what I've been doing. You can see the piles of grass all week. Is if I see something popping up through there that I'm afraid might go to seed, I'm pulling it up, because give it about another 2 weeks with this 93, 94 degree temperature and it feeling like a swamp out here. And those peas are going to cover all that up anyway. They got some bugs eating on them, but that's, as small as they are, you can see how many beans there is on that one. And last year I had 4 little rows like this, and they were they kept on getting bigger like these peas. They started like this. By the time we were done, it was covered up with enough of them to where we picked, I don't know, 5 or 6 5-gallon buckets over a couple of days. Then had some neighbors come and pick some, and I think she put, would you have 50 something
60
60 quarts
of green
cans. So
beans.
we didn't really need none, but that'll start this week. These 3 rows, that's why there's skips back here. I didn't worry about replanting anything, and it all did fairly well considering the lack of rain.
I don't mind the green beans so much. They are probably one of the easier tasks in the canning process. They're probably the most important to make sure you're canning them properly. But as far as the process, they're about one of the easiest things that we preserve and can and put up.
Those are cherry tomatoes down there on the end. I think the last 3 plants. The rest of these are Hossinator, and I've said Hoss about 3 times. I've tried to go cheap before, and they're not really that much higher than anybody else. But I'm talking, if I was buying stuff more in bulk, I would compare, how much per pack of seed or whatever. But one reason I like using them, I had emailed them about Brussels sprouts. She wanted some planted, so I had ordered some seed, and I had some curly mustard popping up in trays instead of Brussels sprouts. And it wasn't all of it. It was just some mixed in there. I just happened to, that was some of the seeds that I stuck in those trays. And I sent them an email, since I know they're buying from a lot of seed from somebody else and distributing it. I said, hey, just let your person you're buying them from know. So I don't need any curly mustard. I got a couple of 100 feet of broadleaf mustard planted. They turned around and within an hour or 2 and refunded it, which I wouldn't have expected a refund. I mean, there was a good many seeds I could use in there. But I would rather do business with folks like that who is, I'm not even asking them for a solution to the problem. I'm just giving you info, and you're taking care of it to keep your customers happy. So these Hossinator tomatoes, I'm not gonna say they taste, I like them less than plain old-fashioned heirloom type tomatoes. But around here, leaf-footed bugs start wearing those regular tomatoes out. I think just because the skin is so thin. And these will give you a bunch of tomatoes that are big enough to, one slice will make a sandwich. I mean, you don't even need more than one slice. So we'll use them mostly for stewed tomatoes to can for soups and stuff. And I've got a couple other different kind of plants on the other side of the house, and I keep some heirloom seeds around, but I'm not picky. I mean, if you live here, you better have something that's going to withstand the temperatures that we got. And about a week or 2, I'll plant about half this many again. and we'll have tomatoes that we'll pull the first week in November before there's a frost. And I've wrapped them up in newspaper. I've just left them sitting out. It don't matter. I check them every once in a while, make sure that none of them have gone bad, and the smaller ones seem to keep better, to the point to where we'll have some tomatoes that are turning that taste like a regular old tomato come almost Christmas.
When will you put the fall tomatoes in seed trays?
Sometime this week.
Okay.
Uh,
But that's what he's talking about with the newspaper, because by the time we do the second planting of tomatoes, that he's talking about runs until our last frost, we'll get a good many red tomatoes on our second planting of tomatoes, but there's a good many that are green where we have to watch the weather, and then once we see that temperature start to drop, whether it's going to get frost, we'll run out here and we'll get them, just wipe them all off, and whatever's green, that's what he's talking about. He puts them in newspapers and
well,
puts them in a box.
and like I said, you don't have to put them in newspapers. Some of the biggest ones is the ones that I had to throw out. If the little green ones work good to store, just from what I've seen, and
Yeah.
you're better off to slice up the big ones and go ahead and batter them and freeze them to where you can fry them when you want to. Won't be long until you'll have some cantaloupe right there. There's a
Oh, I
lot of
love cantaloupe.
small ones on it. And you got some pumpkins turning color up here. Which, another thing about around here that may be different than the rest of the country is between squash bugs and vine borers and everything else. I'm hoping these will wear out these pumpkins and leave my squash alone. Some years it works, some years it don't. But around the 1st of July, these vines will die back, and we'll have to come get every pumpkin we can out of here, and I'll trash the vines. You can't see watermelons, or well, you can see one or two right there that we're on track probably to at least get one by the first week of July. You see that one's starting to get bigger. The biggest one's over there hid in the vines.
I see it peeking.
These onions we pulled last week, I was gonna just mention while we're out here. They still drying. It was rainy. I had to throw them in here in this barn floor, but everybody says you can't grow onions from onion sets, so the dry bulbs, and get the same thing as you do from the plants. We've got maybe a couple of 150, I don't know, 200, that was the dry bulbs. And November, all they had was yellow. When I got ready, usually I get white ones, but I'm only mentioning that because of, if you want bang for your buck, at least around here in our climate, that was less than $1 worth of onion sets that I bought. I've tried plants. Sometimes they work good, sometimes they don't. Almost every time I do sets, they do good. So we just made a hill, stuck them down through there, and all that crabgrass you see out there, that's because we didn't keep them weeded up until then. They didn't never have no water on them. We had drought conditions, like I've done said about 3 times, but that ain't bad onions. And they're not all that size, of course. There's some a little smaller, but that's what the average bigger size looks like.
Thanks for walking with us today. We love the lady cream peas and the Hossinators. Y'all come see us again.